Good morning. Welcome to the Social Justice Forum. My name is Phil Asgian, a member of the Social Justice Ministry team. We build the forums around a common theme. And this year, our theme is investing in each other's future. Through these forums, we aim to learn about opportunities for engagement and action for Westminster members to ensure all our neighbors thrive, to better understand the structures and the systems that have failed many of our neighbors, and to explore ways together to build better outcomes, to respond to Krista Tippett's charge from our opening forum, who will we be for each other? Today, we are very pleased to welcome Braxton Haulcy, Executive Director of Walker West Music Academy in St. Paul, speaking on the power of music to heal our community. Walker West teaches instrumental and vocal music to students ages 5 through adults and provides affordable, quality music instruction inspired by African American cultural experience. Braxton has extensive background working with the corporate world as well as the nonprofit world and serves on the boards of several organizations in the Twin Cities, including the Schubert Club and Big Brothers, Big Sisters, Twin Cities. Before we get started, just a short couple items. If you're here in the Meisel room and you have a question or a comment, raise your hand. I'll bring you the mic so everyone can hear those questions and comments. If you're on the live stream, put your question or comment in the chat and we'll monitor that and make sure that you are heard as well. With that, please welcome Braxton Haulcy.
Thank you so much today. What wasn't mentioned is I'm also Presbyterian. I'm a member of Liberty Community Presbyterian Church in North Minneapolis. My wife is right behind you guys. She's an elder at the church. But I'm always thrilled to have the opportunity to talk about music and the healing power of music and how it intersects in our lives in so many ways and how it helps to heal us. And so, I did share a document with you today to talk about how music heals us across generations, from infants to elders, healthy aging of the brain, and how music controls mood and things of that sort. Here's what I'm going to do today as kind of a platform and an outline so you can follow me. I want to just give you an overview of Walker West first. And so I'm going to have some talking points. And then I'm going to play the video first because I think the video sets the context, okay? So that's where we're going to go first. And then after the video, I'm just going to give you an overview of Walker West. And then I'm going to take you through some slides to show you some examples of the things that we're doing in our community, if that makes sense. So I'm going to see if I can get to this video. We'll see. We'll see if technology works.
Well, the story that I've been told is that Carl was playing for his choir at a church event in South St. Paul, and Grant was playing for his choir at a church event in South St. Paul. They began to talk when there was all the issues in the Selbyville community. A lot of violence, a lot of crime, and because of their passion for music and how they had experienced children really getting into it, they felt that if they started a studio together, they could direct some of that energy in a positive way.
These men were like fathers, mentors, and they not only taught music, but they taught life values. They taught how to be in your body, in community, your identity, your culture, and those kinds of things, and the history of some of the music.
For me, music is not simply about learning songs or learning a piece or building technique. It is all of those things, but it is also about communicating and expressing oneself.
I think it's important that it comes from the right spirit, right? Music education comes from the human spirit, the spirit of joy, the spirit of enjoyment, and telling stories, and I think that's really important.
There are a number of different ways that you can approach music. The traditional conservatory approach, a more of a Western European, maybe a classical approach, is that oftentimes it's a cerebral approach through understanding and through the head. And sometimes that approach doesn't recognize the other ways that music can be learned through your body, through your ears, an auditory approach, a kinetic approach, a spiritual approach. And Walker West takes all of those things in.
Playing music with instruments, it's connecting your mind and your body to produce a sound. It's deeper than that because it's kind of like meditation. You know, when I was first learning drums in band, they teach me the rudiments, and you know, just sitting there for minutes on end, hours on end, doing that, you can learn a whole lot about yourself. It's literally meditation. I kind of started loving music at first by hating it. It wasn't until I was able to be introduced to all of the roots like jazz, bebop, blues, R&B, all of that type of stuff, till I was able to really find my love for it, because I wasn't aware that all of the stuff that I was hearing, all of the stuff that I was surrounded by came from those genres. And it wasn't until I grew my love for those genres that I was able to grow my love for the genres that I previously hated.
When you come here, it doesn't matter if you're 6 or 60. It's just like, this is what you can do. And I'm going to show you this and that, and here's some new stuff to do. So you are not too old, and I just think that is a priceless gift that you can give to any person.
What Walker West is doing is about discovery. It's about expanding what we think we know about music and music education, about culture, and saying there's more that we can do, there's more that we can understand as it relates to music and community building and community development and empowerment and agency.
There is no perfect time or age. Music education can happen anytime, and all we need is the right spirit from you.
I continue to learn, and I continue to be able to have the opportunity to contribute to this very neighborhood-based and at the same time worldwide knowledge-building community.
The possibilities for this institution, not just of what it has been able to do in the past 30 plus years, but what it can and ought to be doing for the next 30 to 40 years is extraordinarily powerful.
This is just the perfect place and the perfect time to find an amazing music education at Walker West.
All right. I want to give you just a quick overview of who we are. When I first came to Walker West, I reached out to funders and I said, "Oh, we're Walker West Music Academy. We've been around for 35 years." And they said, "Walker who?" And so I had to really work at trying to build up some awareness around who we are. But to really understand Walker West, you really have to understand its beginnings. The school was opened in 1988, and I think in the video you saw retired educator Mary Kay Boyd, who's now sitting on our board for the second time. And the thing she said to me when I first started at Walker West is they started the school to get the kids off the street. And I said, well, why were the kids on the street? In 1988, the crack cocaine epidemic started, and it started in Rondo neighborhood. And it was it was an open air market between Grotto and Victoria. And so they literally started that school, not because it was nice to have a school. It was a cultural desert because if anybody understands the Rondo history, And if you understand that history, that's social justice right there. I mean, because you displace 1,000 people, you destroy their homes, and you put Interstate 94 right through it, and you decimate a whole community that was a thriving community socially and culturally. And so by 1988, that community had just really went into disrepair. And that's why that school was started. There was no music schools. There was no arts. None of that existed. So they started school, and I always call them superheroes. You know, anybody else would have ran from the community. They didn't do that. They ran to the community. And they started a music school, and somebody said, you know, you need a business plan. You need investments. They looked at each other like, what's that? All we need is 2 pianos, and we're going to get started. And that's what they did. So if you really understand that, people across the Twin Cities, especially musicians, respect them because they did that. And so that baseline and that foundation continues through this 35-year history. So, and what has happened, we now serve over 5,700 program participants because we do not only just music lessons, we do school residencies. We have a virtual concert hall called the Rondo Community Music Series, which is streamed globally, and we've had global participation in that. And then we serve 300 lessons a week. And so that's what has evolved. And some of that really happened in 2018. I was just telling Diane, my wife over there in the middle, that yesterday was my fourth year anniversary. And when I came there, you know, I asked the program director, I said, yeah, I knew what Walker West did because my kids had taken lessons at Walker West before. I said, what do you think it is that we do? And the answer was, oh, we provide private music instructions to school-age kids. And then I said, is that it? She said, yeah, that's it. And I said, oh, no. We got to be much bigger than that if we expect to survive. And so immediately we started a strategic planning process. And within that strategic planning process, it resulted in Walker West had a great school, but it was not known throughout the Twin Cities, and it had a great baseline. But the process of that strategic plan was kind of threefold. All generations, you know, more than just school-age kids. We have infants in there 6 weeks old in our early childhood music program, being exposed to music, hitting drums, playing on the xylophone, bringing their parents and interacting with their children with music. And then on the other spectrum, we have an elders choir. It's a dementia-friendly elders choir called the Amazing Grace Chorus. And they are off the chain. I mean, they are just spectacular. And you can see the healing power of music when they come into Walker West. I mean, they can be kind of out of it. They'll do a little exercise. We have a nurse that comes in with them and sings with them, and then their caregivers come in with them. And by the end of the program, there's my favorite lady is Sister Viola Seals. Sister Viola Seals is jumping and dancing and singing, and my favorite song from her, He's an On-Time God. Because there was a time when I was missing payroll, and they would come over there, I'm going to sing your song, baby. I said, yes, sing my song. It may not come on Friday when it's supposed to, but it's going to be on time. And so we covered the whole breadth of all generations with this strategic plan. We're covering the babies to the elders. We have a student 102 years old taking, you know, music lessons. And so that covers all generations. The other thing that I wanted to do when we came to Walker West is some of these music schools, including Walker West, were working in silos. It's like, oh, no, we're McPhail. We don't need to partner with you. We're Walker West. We don't need to work with you. And when we started our early childhood program, we partnered with McPhail to get it started. And they had one of their instructors start. You know, during the COVID, they weren't able to fund or keep instructors, so we had to, the last year, we had to develop ours internally. But we have this initiative called Walker West Without Walls. And that means we get out of the building, out of the four walls, and we get into our communities. That means we're doing school residencies and school partners. Because what you'll find, especially in St. Paul, I don't know how bad it is in Minneapolis, is that it still has the No Child Left Behind legacy, where music and sports has been taken out of schools, especially during the day. So in the elementary and in the middle schools, there's no music. And so they might have an after-school music, but the turnout rate for the after-school music, the kids are tired and grumpy, and it usually doesn't work too well. And so we are now deploying our instructors during the day, during the school day, out into schools to teach. And we have been very strategic about how we do this, and I'll tell you why. We want to have deploy our teachers in schools that have at least 60% youth of color. And the rationale for that is this, and I'm going to give you my quick testimony. When I was in the 2nd grade, I was a DNF student. And they went and they talked to my mom and said, you know, we need to hold him back because he didn't get it. And she did. But she enrolled me in piano. And I went from D's and F's to A's in 1 year, and then ended up graduating from college on the dean's list. So I'm a true believer that teaching music changes lives and changes the trajectory of some of our students. And so we realize that there's a huge opportunity gap. I think my wife has told me it's the 2nd largest in the United States between black students and white students in this area. And so the strategy is to use music to begin to close that achievement gap. And at the same time, I'm beginning to talk to legislators because we're in a capital campaign, and I'm telling them also, hey, you know, bring music, put music back into those schools. So that's a key thing that we're doing. And then we want to improve access. You know, we want to make sure that anybody, I always tease people, I said, if you don't come to Walker West in a Bentley, you'll get tuition assistance. and maybe I might even give it to you then, because you need it. So, yes, sir.
So obviously you work with schools, but you are in no way, shape, or form a magnet school, correct?
No, we're community music education, just like McPhail. That's what, McPhail is a community music educator, and that's what we are. So we do a lot of after school, but then we're trying to get into the schools during the day. So that's one of the things. Let me make sure I covered everything I need to cover. And when I talk about access, I'm talking about equitable access. And so getting our faculty into the schools is about equitable access, because some of the better schools have music in their schools during the day. And so, you know, when we talk about community engagement, you know, we're working with Ramsey County. So it's beyond just schools. We know that some of their children need some support, and some of the county folks need support, and so we're doing that. And ironically, we just got a call from St. Cloud School District, and they want us to figure out a way to help them because they have an influx of Somalis and African Americans, and they're trying to figure out how to get those students engaged in the music that they're teaching, which means they probably might need to change the music they're teaching. But we'll see about that. And so, you know, the other thing that we do that's a little bit different, and the gentleman that's from the string department, he always harasses me. His name is Earl Ross. He says, oh, when you talk about Walker West, all you talk about is the jazz. And we have a very good classical and strings. Matter of fact, all of them in the Minnesota Youth Symphonies, Greater Twin Cities Youth Symphonies. They compete in the camps. They do very well. So yes, we do teach classical music with all instruments. But one of the things that Walker West has been known for is its improvisational style of teaching. And that means we teach jazz, we teach blues, we teach contemporary music as well. And with that type of, we call it play to learn, with that type of learning, you hear a lot of ear training. You pick it up by the ear. If any of you have ever been to a black church, there's no sheet music. They're playing that song to death. And they're not flipping the sheets. It's all in their head. And so that's usually when somebody first comes to Walker West, that's how we start. We want you to be a good listener. Because to be a musician, you have to be a good communicator. That means you listen and play. You know, you got to listen. And so we want you to listen with the ear, pick it up with the ear, and then we'll teach you the notes and the compositions. And so when you do that, you raise your levels of musicianship. And what we normally do and I can use my son as an example, we are a student-centered learning. And so when you come in, you know, to take lessons, we'll ask you, what do you want to learn? We're not going to throw Bach and Beethoven at you. We'll ask you, what do you want to learn? Oh, you want to learn some Beyonce? You want to learn some You want to learn some Stevie Wonder? Oh, let's play this. Okay, we're doing the ear training. I'm going to play a little something. It's call and response. You play a little something. Then I'm going to play something. You play a little something. And then that's how we kind of build that relationship. And, of course, we eventually sneak in the Bach and the Beethoven because we want them to have the basics, but we want to engage them first. You can't engage learning unless you engage the student. So we want to do what they want to do. So it's a student-centered learning, and that's how we focus. In 2021, I got this cryptic call from the McKnight Foundation. I've been reaching out to them for 3 years. They would return my calls. And I get this cryptic call from Deanna Cummings like, Braxton, what's your budget? And I said, oh, that's kind of strange. I mean, she left a voice message. So I called back. I said, oh, our budget is XXX. And then she calls her, well, you just won the Ford McKnight Regional Cultural Treasures Award. And it was, I was shocked. I mean, because it was a nice gift they gave us. It was a nice gift. And, but the thing that was so important was that, you know, our superheroes, Reverend Walker and Grant West, had worked hard and tirelessly for 35 years, and they were never honored. And this award reflects the 35 years of Walker West impact on the cultural landscape in Minnesota and actually throughout the world. And so it was just an honor to see the joy that they had when they received this award. You know, you don't get awards from the Ford Foundation every day. So it was just a great honor to see how pleased they were with finally being recognized. And so we are now a Regional Cultural Treasures Art Award recipient, and we get the grant dollars for the next year. And it's nice to have the money. And then the other thing that we don't realize, and again, I'm trying not to ramble on too much, we have an old saying, teaching music, changing lives. And, you know, I tell people every day, we're not trying to develop Grammy Award-winning musicians, even though that would help. We're trying to develop Grammy Award-winning humans, because music makes us human, right? It allows us to express emotions. And so those are some of the things that we've done. And then the other thing that happened during the pandemic, everybody thought Walker West was going to go down and nothing, you know, and we were going to collapse. And it was just amazing to see how our instructors, some of them were younger instructors and they were tech savvy, and some of them were dinosaurs, and we had to work with them. We didn't miss a day of lessons. We came in on a Sunday. We did the young instructors helped the older instructors get, you know, online. And I reached out to the parents and the families. I said, this is going to be clunky. We don't have a lot of technology, but bear with us and you'll appreciate it. And, you know, we didn't miss a day of lessons, and we kept it going. And the St. Paul Foundation had us present to their board of directors to show them how we did it. And, you know, eventually one of the funders' sons were taking lessons from Mr. Duncan, and she was laughing about how, you know, tech-savvy Mr. Duncan was, and they could only see his head when he's trying to. And she felt sorry for us, so she got us some all new laptops. And so it made it a little bit more seamless. And now we have about 20% of our lessons are done online. So, you know, those folks, you know, I'm not from Minnesota, but it seems like there's this dividing line called the Mississippi River. And whenever folks from Minneapolis have to go over the Mississippi River, it's like going to China. Like, oh, we got to go way over there to St. Paul. Well, you know, you don't have to go way over there to St. Paul. You can sit in your living room, and we got the technology where you can take your music lessons in your living room. So no more excuses. You can come to St. Paul, all ages. So, you know, you could be 90 years old taking music lessons from St. Paul. So I know Jock over there. He plays the piano and sings. You got to become part of that Walker West family, Jock. You got to go beyond just being a landlord. So, but we really believe that teaching music changes lives. And, you know, it teaches discipline, determination, confidence, outside of just the music skills. And then for me, you know, to go from D's and F's to A's. It definitely, helped me with my math and my analytics and my creative thing. And, when we look at this, you have somebody like Mayor Melvin Carter. He was a Walker West student. So that's what we want from Walker West. We want people to be leaders in our community, and music will help them get there. So that's kind of my rambling on about Walker West. I'm going to just take you through a couple of slides to just show you some examples of some of the things that we're doing in the community. Oh, this slide right here is our work with the, they always make me say the full word, the Barack and Michelle Obama Elementary School. And so we have some of our teachers doing that. And one of the things I didn't mention with the online transformation, and I'll make this real quick, we had in-person concerts, which started in 2019. With the pandemic, we had to shut that down, and we started doing our concerts online. And we have some of the best musicians and faculties. I'm going to brag on them, not only in the Twin Cities, but in the United States. I mean, they're playing on people's albums, they're playing at Crooners, they're playing at Dakotas, and they come to Walker West to teach. And so we use them as a catalyst to do these concerts. And so we now have an online. If anybody ever wants to view our concerts, we have the great Kevin Washington, who's a drummer, who's going to be this Friday coming up. And his show is phenomenal. He plays multiple instruments. And he's a teacher at Walker West. He's on teaching my nephew. And so we had to quickly convert to online for digital. And then we also teach digital music production. And part of what we taught at Obama was we taught some digital music production. And I always tell people, I used to work at General Mills, and I was a sales director in Philadelphia. And I used to sell end-cap displays. And I also did research, too, at General Mills. And so what is an end-cap display? It's a traffic builder. It's going to catch your attention, right? And you're going to walk up there, you're going to pick up a product. And then you got to walk into the aisle. See, that's that consumer behavior stuff. And then you walk into the aisle and you pick up another product. They got you. I call digital music production, especially for teenagers, it's the end-cap display. It's the traffic builder, because they want to, you got some rap lyrics, you want to put some music behind it, you want to put some of these things, you can develop this, you can use this technology. And so once they get interested in that, then we got them. Then they have to walk into the aisle. Oh, you have to learn an instrument now. How about that? Oh, you want to learn guitar? You want to learn how to play drums? You got to learn something. You can't be good at this unless you learn an instrument. So that's my General Mills analogy, the end-cap display. And so we're beginning to teach digital music production because we know that those kids like technology, and so we're teaching that. We're teaching instruments at the same time. And then we also have a school residency at St. Peter Claver. And we have Brother Ghana, who's teaching them African drumming, and then we have keyboards. And then this is that choir I was talking about, the Amazing Grace Chorus. They were just recently featured in a TPT film to be released on October 28th. I saw the premiere, and it's just wonderful. They teach dementia-friendly, dementia participants and their caregivers. And it's amazing to just see the work that they're doing in our community. And one of the things that was not known is that African-American women have the highest rate of dementia and Alzheimer's in the United States. So a program like this is definitely needed. And then we also, in working with our elders, we have a podcast called the Keeping On Podcast. And then we had the great legendary pianist, Kenny Barron, was part of our guest on the podcast, and he talked about the journey of music and aging. And then we go to our pre-K class. This is the babies. This is the 6 weeks old to 4 years old. And we have a new instructor. We call her Auntie Jayanthi. And it's Homies in Harmony. And then this is the digital music production class that we're teaching. You see the laptops and the keyboards and people creating their own music. And then Mr. Earl, this is his string ensemble, Kamonge, which is Kenya for coming together. and they played at Sundon Hall with the Artaria String Quartet for Black History, and they played the music of Black classical composers. And then we were lucky to have a partnership with Paviel French, Schubert Club, and the American Composers Forum. And our string students had a chance to play at the premiere of her new album at the Fitzgerald Theater. And it was just amazing to see those young kids playing with professional musicians during her concert. And then this is a collaboration we had with Liberty Community Church, Presbyterian Church. It's called The Gospel According to Jazz. And I love Pastor Alika and Pastor Galloway. And Pastor Alika has so much vision. He says, we need to bring jazz, the improvisational style of jazz into our church and know how jazz and the gospel and the spirit is connected together. And so in the month of August, we had a number of our faculty come in and do performances. And a lot of it was kind of like maybe even a John Coltrane, Love Supreme, kind of that spiritual, transcendental type of music where, you could really, feel the spirit. And then this is our Rondo Community Music Series. We have 11 performers. We initially had Debbie Duncan, who passed away and Debbie used to teach at Walker West, and her brother, William Duncan, we call him Mr. Duncan, still teaches. He's my teacher, and he's Diane's teacher as well. But we have this Rondo Community Music Series, and it's about bringing the joy of music to our community and really letting people enjoy music, because listening to music is as important as learning music. And then we had a number of masterclass. Joey DeFrancisco, he's 50 years old. He just passed away. It was just sad. But he's the great jazz organist in the world. And he happened to be playing at Crooners, and I reached out to him. He says, oh, yeah, I'll come over to Walker West, and we'll do a master class. And I told him, I said, your assignment. I gave him an assignment. I said, we have no bass students anymore because nobody wants to learn bass. I said, you play multiple instruments, because he plays organ. He won the jazz competition playing the trumpet. He sings, and he now plays saxophone. So I had him do all of those things, except for the singing. And after that, I just said, hey, Mr. DeFrancisco plays 4 instruments. I need to recruit some students to play bass. If you play piano, you can play bass. If you play guitar, you can play bass. And I got 7 students, 3 of them young ladies. And I've been wanting to get more of those young ladies in our jazz ensemble. So he met his assignment. And then we had Wynton Marsalis' brother, Delfeo Marsalis. I haven't been able to get Wynton to come to Walker West yet. I'm working on him. But Delfeo, and that's one of Diane's favorite musicians too, trombonist. And he played at the Twin Cities Jazz Fest last year, and he came to Walker West and worked with the students before they were to play at the Twin Cities Jazz Fest. And then we had a young musician, Matthew Whitaker. And I don't know if you guys ever watched the 60-minute special. It was a 60-minute special on this blind pianist that, played classical and jazz, and, he could pick it up all by ear. And, he has come out as a jazz musician, and he's another one that plays multiple instruments. He plays drums, he plays, all kind of pianos, organ, et cetera, et cetera. He was in town as the premier player for the Twin Cities Jazz Fest last year, and he came by and did a master class for Walker West. And then the last thing, and Elena told me to be cool, we have a capital campaign. We have outgrown the space. We're at 6,000 square feet. We're trying to get probably be at 20,000 square feet. We're looking at the Wilder Foundation Center for Aging facility off Dale and Marshall. And so we're in the midst of that, and I think we're going to hit our target. I think that's it. Yep, that's it. Any questions? Do I have a what?
Do you have a YouTube channel?
Yes, we do. If you ask me how to find it, it's there. But yes, we do have a YouTube.
And there's a lot of great stories on the Walker West website too. I was just out there the other day, and you talked about the St. Cloud community and the Somali immigrants and stuff. And there's a wonderful video clip out there of a young woman from Eritrea with the violin, and what she was able to do, how that transformed her life.
Yeah, that's probably Sonium Hashel. Yep.
Exactly.
Thank you for coming.
Oh, thank you.
I'm Betty Folliard. Excuse me. And Braxton, you're talking my language because 60 plus years ago when I was young, we were in the same place that we are today, where it was the Bay of Pigs, the Cambodia invasion, and existential moment of the threat of nuclear war. And at that time, in the United States, they took all the money out of the arts, all the money out of music completely, and my mother became the volunteer music teacher at our elementary school, Stanford Elementary School at Stanford, California. And I had a little class of 20 kids, and we were taught 3-part harmony, and she directed us in choruses and performances, and she wrote musicals that we performed. And years later, 3 of them became professional musicians. 2 of them ended up at St. Paul Chamber Orchestra from California. So I know exactly what you mean when you talk about not learning, because I was an experiential learner. And I became a legislator here in Minnesota. And it was through music and through the arts that I thrived. So you're speaking my language. And I love the Walker Center because I've seen, as I mentioned, I've seen you perform in the community. And so the ask that I have is, what is your ask of this church? Now, I'm new at this church, but what is your ask?
Well, okay, Elena. Where's Elena? She go body slam me. Well, I guess, because I've been in sales, I really believe that you have to build relationships. And so I see this first meeting with Westminster as the opportunity to build a relationship. I mean, I think we're already associates because we're at Liberty Community Church, but not everybody knows what Walker West is and what we're doing. And so my first thing, I always tell this, even when I talk to funders, I said, I want to build a relationship with you first. Then you can send me the check later. So that's my, sorry, Elena, but it's a $15 million campaign.
Well, I had the joy of hearing your group, jazz group, at a pre-orchestra concert.
Yeah, was that Wynton Marsalis?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so you were there.
Yeah, it was great, yeah. Oh, yeah, I love jazz. Well, I love every kind of music, and those are the things I remember from high school. The band and the chorus. I don't remember anything else.
Well, they say music sits in your mind forever. That's why we have that
right.
dementia-friendly choir.
And dancing is part of it. Anyway, right. So I want to know, will you accept donated instruments?
We're looking for some good pianos. And when I say, I've had our founders just beat me up because all the pianos we received have been donated. And Grant West, who's one of the co-founders, he says, Braxton, after about 15 years of a piano that's been played 6-7 hours a day for 6 days a week, the keyboards lose their action. And so the action on the keyboards go away. And so he's really harping on me about getting some decent pianos. And so, if a donated piano meets their criteria, I would be very interested. And I guess I will say this, as we look for pianos, because they're professional, Grant is a professional musician. We're looking for Steinways, or we're looking for high-end Yamahas. And I'm sure there's other pianos that would fit in that realm. But we've had a lot of people donate pianos to us, and we get it and we play it for about a couple of months and say, this is not going to work, and then we're trying to figure out how to get rid of it.
So
But yes.
my name came up a couple of times in this forum. I want to go on the record. I hate being characterized as possibly body slamming someone. I don't even have the capacity to do that. So that's a concern, and we'll work on that. Of course, we want to invest in institutions like Walker West, but we need to learn from Walker West how to be a neighbor. That's why we wanted them here, is because they can teach us, this big institution with resources, how to be relationship-based. So I'm really glad that you led with that. Okay. And please know, your associate pastor for Justice and Mission is not a violent person. Okay, that's all.
I know that would get their attention.
Thank you, Elena. Yeah, the relationships are just absolutely essential. Other comments?
Oops, I just lost Elena. What we need to do, and I don't know how to do that, but we need to have some of your groups come and play for our congregation at a regular service so they can experience what you all are doing and then become familiar with the name, part of getting to know us.
Oh, well, I'm deploying them all across the city.
So that's one of the things I would like to hear and see, or see and hear, here at Westminster.
We'll make that happen.
And actually, to that point, Braxton, before you came, and I didn't have a chance to mention to you earlier, I did talk to Amanda Weber, our music director here at Westminster, and she is very interested in learning more about Walker West and how we might be able to pursue that relationship. So.
Oh, fantastic. Good question.
Hi. Do you have someone at your organization who writes grant applications?
We outsource through another organization called Access Philanthropy. I tried my hand at writing grants, and I got fired. I think it was the St. Paul Foundation told me, say, Braxton, don't write another grant.
Braxton, thank you so much for coming. Could you tell us more about your own vocational journey from selling end caps to doing what you do now? I love the continuity that you described between those two different callings, but tell us more about your call into this work.
Yeah, well, when I first went to college, I spent 2 years as a music major, and that was in the 70s. I think it was around the oil embargo. And all the musicians were getting out of college and they couldn't find jobs, and they were driving cabs. And I looked at them, I said, no, I don't think I want to do that. And so I immediately turned over to business, and then I transferred up to Chicago and finished up in their School of Accountancy, and then worked for Amoco, which is now BP Petroleum, for a couple of years. Then I went back to grad school, and then I came up to Minneapolis, and I worked with Pillsbury, and I worked with General Mills. At the age of 60, which was 2018, I decided I was ready to go back to music. And so I reached out to a headhunter. I said, I want to get back into music. Can you connect me? And I ended up at Walker West. And so that's how I journeyed on, and I almost stopped playing music altogether. But now that I'm at Walker West, I'm taking music lessons again. So, yeah, I'm excited. I'm learning a lot. I play piano, organ, and I would call myself a saxophone player, but I haven't touched a saxophone in a while. And I'm taking organ right now from Mr. Duncan. That's what I'm doing. He's teaching me all the things. And the things, I thought I used to play organ for the church when I was growing up. And there's all kind of tricks and things and chordal structures and modals and inversions of the fourth. And I'm just like, oh, my God. I thought I knew something. I don't know anything.
How do you see your feet, and how do you know where?
Oh, you just have to be coordinated, and you got to feel and then you got to feel the spirit.
I do a lot of work with educational programs for kids on the organ in the Twin Cities, and to your point, a friend of mine who is a emeritus professor from St. Thomas says, well, when I teach the students, he says, it doesn't take very long. The first thing we need to do is sit down and have a lesson on rhythm.
That's like, you know, we will teach you. Come to Walker West. We'll have you playing that organ.
Yeah. Well, well, as long as you can count, I think we can count you in. Braxton, I want to thank you so much for your time and sharing the Walker West story with us.
Oh, do we have another question?
Oh.
Other than money raising, which is a challenge for any nonprofit, what would you say is your greatest challenge as a leader at Walker West?
Well, I guess the thing that I would say is right now we're under-resourced. You know, when I came to Walker West, we had a $470,000 budget and a $170,000 loss. This year we have $1.5 million. We finished $1.5 million, and we have a $100,000 surplus, and we're going to have a budget of $3 million now. But we kept the same FTEs. We need more people to do the work, and I'm looking at capacity building because I'm wearing 10 hats. I'm doing everything.
Well, thank you again very much, and we want to invite you all to come back and join us again next Sunday in person or online when Sally So Young, Executive Director of Homeworks, Urban Homeworks, is going to be speaking on hope through housing. So please join us then, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.